You're listening to Living Full Out with Nancy Solari. As a professional motivational speaker, Nancy can assist you to blow through your setbacks and start living full out. If you have an inspirational story you want to share, email us at connect@livingfullout.com. Once again, here's Nancy.
Hello and welcome to the Living Full Out Show. My name is Nancy Solari, and today we're going to be talking about harnessing patience. Now, I know you're all saying, Nancy, that's easier said than done, but I promise you, even when we fall and we have moments where we make a mistake or we fail, it allows us to see a different side of ourselves, a side where we rally, where we have strength, and in that comes patience. So we're going to be talking about that throughout today's show. Also, make sure you stay with us. Our inspirational guest, Kim Curry, truly an amazing man, will be sharing with us about having multiple sclerosis and what that's been like and how he's taken his power back and really lives life on his terms. Really inspiring story. Can't wait to share that. Also, we want to make sure that you go check us out on social media, because beyond Kim and all the other guests that we have on the show, we constantly want to give you more and more stories. So you might identify with Kim's story today, or it might be someone else, but we always want to keep you motivated. Also, remember, if you're on the go, traveling around and going to the gym or whatever that looks like, remember to go to the App Store. Just look for the Living Full Out Show app. It's free, and you can listen to us on the go. Now, I'm getting word from our producer that we do have a listener on the line. We're going to go check in with them. Hello, welcome to the Living Full Out Show.
Hi there.
Hi, how can I help you?
Well, I'm sorry to start the show on a downer. I know you deal with vision loss, and I am dealing with vision loss, and you seem good about it, and I find the vision I have I'm trying to hold on to, but there's times that I can't see as well, and it's hurtful. And you seem to handle it really well, and so I just would like to know how you're able to deal with it and accept it more, because, you know, it's easy to get mad and sad, and so I just wanted to know, because I know you've dealt with that, and you know, I'm sure everyone who has some kind of disability or problem, you know, knows what I'm going through. And like I said, right now I don't have total vision loss, but you know, as I lose vision, it scares me, and you know, but it does make me, you know, it's loss. And anyways, like I said, you seem to handle your vision loss well, and I just don't know how you do it.
Mm. It's a really, really good question. And if you think that I don't have those times where I cry, then that's not true. However, you know, it's interesting. My vision loss has gone so far away that obviously I have my guide dog Frost, which everyone knows about. And it's interesting. I can, for example, be at my computer, and I use talking software called JAWS. And I might look in the direction of my computer, even though I can't see it, because in some ways I've learned to see with my brain. Now, thankfully, I'm a pretty visual person in my brain and always have been, but that is how I choose to see. So when I think about meeting someone, and I know I can't really see them, but in the moment when I'm meeting them, I'm not even thinking about being legally blind or visually impaired. I'm just meeting this random person out of nowhere. And in my brain, it fills in through their handshake, through their embrace, through their voice, what I think they look like. And the more you use your other senses, for me, that brain, and it fills in what you think someone looks like, what a sunset looks like, it actually makes the sadness, it makes the loss disappear a little bit more and more over time. It's like a muscle that you work. And so I can literally be on vacation and people will be like, oh gosh, how pretty the water is. And I can actually say, oh my gosh, it's so nice to be here. It is so beautiful. Because in my mind, I've already taught myself to fill in blue water, blue-green water, whatever that looks like. Now, again, it's not to say that it doesn't come with times that I don't see a TV and I run into it and I've got a black eye, or I miss a step and I fall down the stairs. And those come with moments of, gosh, did I break anything? Because those are my transportation, right? The legs and the hands and all that good stuff. So there are unsettling moments amongst the confident moments. Then you also lean on your other senses. So when I am out and about, and believe it or not, I remember one time being in Santa Monica, California, Wilshire Boulevard, for all of you who know the area, and I was starving. I was doing real estate at the time, and I smelt bread. And I was like, oh, I know that. That is Subway. Where is that Subway? Could not see Subway, but I followed the smell carefully, because at that point I didn't have my guide dog. And finally, I got the sense that somebody was walking near me, and I said, excuse me. And the person said, yes. And I said, gosh, is there a Subway near here? And they're like, oh, you're really close. It's the next building. It's just the next store. So I just had to walk a little bit more, and there it was. And so sometimes you have to let those other senses be your guide. Now, is it scary, vision loss? Absolutely. But is it something that is terminal? Not always. Sometimes some conditions come with a visual aspect where you lose your vision and it is terminal, but not always. And so I've learned over time to also lean on gratitude, in the sense that for me, if I couldn't hear music, if I couldn't hear people talk, and I was sitting at a table, I'd rather feel lonely not seeing them, but if I couldn't hear them, to me, that would be harder. Or I think to myself, because I do live on a second story, and I like being on the top floor, then it would be harder if I couldn't go up and down stairs, because I like to be on the top floor. So you kind of have to start to negotiate in life. So one of the things I just want to ask you about today is there a secondary sense that you rely on most besides your vision?
Faith.
Okay. And would you say that as you've turned to faith, like how I turned to my mind, as you've turned to faith, has that gotten stronger?
Yes.
Okay. And so you're on the right track with turning to faith, and you're seeing it get stronger. And so if you were to lean on the other senses, in time, they too would get stronger. And one of the things that you have to also think about is, although losing one's vision is scary, do you have other things in your life? Like if you had to choose between eyesight and something else that you love a lot. Pick a loved one in your life. You had to choose between this loved one or my eyesight. What would you choose?
It's like you know me. Yeah, I'd take that person.
Mm-hmm. So life is full of negotiations, and that is true whether you're dealing with negotiating vision loss, whether you're negotiating in a relationship, do I stay or do I go? Whether it's in a job, I hate my job, I love my job. But if life were easy, right, we'd all just be living a harmonious life. But you're bound to be a better person for going through this process. And it sounds like, at least on the side of your faith, do you feel like you've grown? Do you feel like you're a better person because you've worked that power?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And so what would be, beyond faith, what's another sense that you rely
on? Hearing.
Okay. So get even let hearing become more of your guide, even more so. I mean, I don't know about you, but I use that technology a lot, right? So I hear a lot. So I'm sure you do too. But hang in there, lean on those senses. You'll definitely feel more comfort over time. I appreciate you calling in very much.
Thank you.
And we'll continue to pray for you.
Thank you.
And for everyone else listening, today we are talking about harnessing patience, and it's not easy. It takes time. But we have to believe that we can get through the hard times. When you believe you can, that silver lining's there. That light at the end of the tunnel's there. You just got to keep hoping. Stay with us. We're going to be coming right back with Kim Curry, again, a man who's gone through it himself with multiple sclerosis. Stay with us. We'll be right back after this break.
Life looks a little different. During these times, we're doing our best to keep our minds and bodies strong. And getting a flu shot helps us stay healthy, so we don't miss out on what matters. Like having game night at home. Yeah, can't do that while sick with the flu. Now imagine family movie night that your daughter can't live without. Well, that's ruined. And don't forget your uncle's socially distanced cookout. See? That's why it's important to be at our strongest. Every year, millions of people in the U.S. get the flu. Especially now, no one has time to miss out on moments that matter. So get your flu shot. Find out more at getmyflushot.org. Brought to you by the AMA, CDC, and the Ad Council.
Don't you wish your life came with a warning app?
Stop. That dog does not want to be petted.
Just a little heads up before something bad happens.
Move your coffee cup away from your computer.
Oh, no.
So you can have more control.
Stop. You're texting your boss by mistake.
Uh-oh. Well, life doesn't always give you time to change the outcome, but prediabetes does. With early diagnosis and a few healthy changes like managing your weight, getting active, stopping smoking, and eating healthier, you can stop prediabetes before it leads to type 2 diabetes. It's easy to learn your risk. Take the 1-minute test today at doihaveprediabetes.org.
Warning. The cap is loose on that ketchup.
Ugh. Don't wait. You have the power to change the outcome. Visit doihaveprediabetes.org today. That's doihaveprediabetes.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and its pre-diabetes awareness partners.
Uh-oh, Brad's buzzed.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, he's starting with the woots. And now a speech.
I just want to say that friendship is about heart and brain. Who's with me?
Good thing is, he knows when he's buzzed.
And my brain is saying, when it's time to go home, somebody call me a ride.
Love that guy.
Me too.
Know your buzzed warning signs? Call for a ride when it's time to go home. Buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Watch out! You got me!
The galaxy is safe once again.
In the pretend universe, kids play with pretend guns. In the real world, it's up to us to make sure they don't get their hands on a real gun. If you have a gun in the house, keep it locked, unloaded, and stored separately from ammunition. Safe gun storage saves lives. Learn how to make your home safer at endfamilyfire.org. That's endfamilyfire.org. Brought to you by End Family Fire, Brady, and the Ad Council.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting. A teenager. Learning the lingo.
Today I'm going to help parents translate teen slang. Now, when a teen says something is on fleek, it's exactly like saying, that's rad. It simply means that something is awesome or cool. Another one is totes. It's exactly like saying, totally, just shorter. As in, I totes love going to the mall with Becca. Another word you might hear is jelly. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous. As in, Chloe, I am like so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will think you're, rad, just the same. To learn more, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt US Kids, and the Ad Council.
You're listening to Living Full Out with Nancy Solari. As a life coach, Nancy can teach you how to stay strong under pressure and work through challenges you face. Being legally blind, Nancy inspires others to be resilient in overcoming obstacles and live full out. You can ask Nancy for advice in your life on relationships, finance, business, health, and more. Just call in at 800-333-0001. Once again, that's 800-333-0001. Now, here's Nancy.
Welcome back. I'm Nancy Solari, and this is the Living Full Out Show. And today we're talking about harnessing patience. And as promised, I brought our inspirational guest today, Kim Curry, to the show, who's going to share with us about his journey in discovering he had multiple sclerosis. But watch out, everyone, because his nickname is Kid Curry, and he is a ball of energy. So welcome, Kim.
Good morning, Nancy. How are you today?
I am good. I really had to do like some push-ups this morning to keep up with your energy level because, MS picked on the wrong man. That is what I will say. But I want to let our audience know that although you have been very successful in radio over the years and just an entertainer at heart, it really started for you at a young age. At 17, your father was a newsman at a radio station, and one day he came home and he said, the general manager would like for you to babysit. And you thought it meant his kids, but it actually meant what?
Well, I was a bit surprised because the way I made my money when I was in high school was babysitting my parents' friends' kids. And so when he said he needs you to babysit, I thought, well, I'll go to the radio station, I'll pick up his kids, and I'll go babysit them. Well, when I got there, the general manager had a completely different idea of what babysat meant. Every Sunday morning, my local hometown, I come from a very small town in Colorado, there's only one radio station. And that radio station would record the church services, and then the next week, they would play them back on the radio on Sunday morning. And nobody wanted that job. So they needed someone to come in and babysit the radio station while the tapes were being played on Sunday morning. So that's how I got my start in the radio business. My dad got me my first job.
Now, the thing is, go babysitters, right? You never know what that's going to look like. That's a good thing. But although you had the connection to your dad, you actually had to work for it because the kids of today don't have to take the same tests that you did, but you actually had to pass a test to stay in the job.
Back in those days, before Ronald Reagan deregulated all of broadcasting, or most of broadcasting, there were 3 different licenses you had to attain in order to either be on the radio or work on radio station equipment. The least important of these was the third-class license. And that third-class license just allowed a DJ to go into a studio and touch the buttons and talk and then change the records on the turntable. And that was what I had to go take a test at. Now, this was a difficult job in that you had to know physics because you also had to learn how to figure power formulas, the power that's coming out of the transmitter. So there are some specific formulas that you need to know. Now, I had done my best to learn these formulas and thought for sure I could pass the test. My father took this test and passed it the first time. It took me 3 attempts to pass the same test. But it was good because it really got me interested in the business and the way that radio really functions, how it works out of a transmitter, et cetera.
Well, and you went on to be wildly successful, 20 plus years, and you got to be known as Kid Curry. But where did that nickname come from?
Well, after I'd been in college, I went to the University of Southern Colorado. They called it back then Southern Colorado State College. I went for 2.5 years studying broadcasting after I got out of high school. And after a couple of years of doing that and working part-time at a local top 40 radio station, I thought it was my turn to go out and try to get myself a full-time job. I got interest from a few stations in the country, but there was one in Knoxville, Tennessee that decided they were going to hire me. So as I'm driving across the country, I'm going to be the new DJ on 15Q, and my show starts at 10 p.m. at night. So I thought, back in those days, Wolfman Jack was a big name. The Boogeyman, you had Dr. Brock, the ugliest jock in rock. You had to come up with a cool name. So I thought because I'm going on the radio at 10 p.m., I'd call myself Night Smoke. Ooh. Well, I got to the radio station. I drove up in Knoxville, walked up the stairs at the radio station, and when I opened the door, there was the receptionist lady, and then there was a big guy behind her with a Hawaiian shirt on and really dysfunctional hair. It was sticking out everywhere. And I reached out to shake the hand of the receptionist, and I said, "Hello there. I'm your new nighttime disc jockey, Night Smoke." And the guy behind her said, "Well, if it isn't Kid Curry." And back in the 70s, there was a TV show, Alias Smith and Jones. It was a takeoff of Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. And it was a Western type of show, and one of the characters was named Kid Curry. So he immediately thought, well, we're not going to call this guy Kim Curry on the radio. We'll call him Kid Curry. So when he said that to me, I said, I hate that name. And the reason I didn't like it was because all my high school friends used to bug me because there was that TV show, and they'd be, "Hey, it's Kid Curry." Well, I didn't like it. So when I told him I didn't like the name Kid Curry, he says, "Well, then I won't sign your check." And I replied, "Well, Kid Curry it is." But it was a very smart thing it was the best thing I could have ever done, because that name and my style on the radio identified me as one. Back then, there were, 5,000, 6,000 radio stations in America, and everybody had different DJs, but there was only one Kid Curry. So it ended up being the greatest thing that ever happened, because it really established my show and my relation to my listeners with a very unique name.
Well, and your life has a way of sneaking up on us, right? We can think it's going to go one way, and then it goes another, right? And you become a whole new personality. Throughout your success, though, you had several different marriages. You had 2 wonderful kiddos. And what do you feel, though, was your top secret to success before we go to break here? Because, again, it's a competitive industry.
Well, I've always thought that I was going to work harder than everybody else. I was a trumpet player in high school, and I was in real good competition. The number 1 and number 2 trumpet players in America were seniors, and I was a junior. So I really had to establish myself as a trumpet player against 2 very established guys who were nationally known in high school. So I always thought that I would work harder than everybody else. So my mission was to get my radio show to be so good that I could beat everybody. And I was lucky enough that the people that I worked for taught me very smart things about being on the radio, and I always had great ratings, and it worked out really well for me. But as I was going through my career, I did have a couple of marriages. I was listening to a Bon Jovi interview recently, and Bon Jovi, it's in print that he had relations with over 100 women, and he told the interviewer, he said, "But I was Bon Jovi." And it's almost the same thing with me. I was Kid Curry, a famous radio DJ in America, and little girls liked me, and it really messed up my life for quite some time.
Well, the thing is, you, Bon Jovi, all of us from time to time make mistakes, but it's what we do with it. And I know that's been actually a theme in your life, is what you do with it. So I want you to stay with us, Kid Curry, Kim, AKA all of that. And we're going to be coming right back, because there's more to your story when you start to discover what MS means. We'll be right back after this break. Stay with us.
Today in school, I learned a lot. In chemistry, I learned that no one likes me. In English, I learned that I'm disgusting. And in physics, I learned that I'm a loser.
Today in school, I learned that I'm ugly and useless. And in gym, I learned that I'm pathetic and a joke. In history, I learned that I'm trash.
Today in school, I learned that I have no friends. In English, I learned that I make people sick. And at lunch, I learned that I sit on my own because I smell. In chemistry, I learned that no one likes me.
In biology, I learned that I'm fat and stupid. And in math, I learned that I'm trash.
The only thing I didn't learn in school today?
The only thing I didn't learn today?
The only thing I didn't learn
is why no one ever helps.
Kids witness bullying every day. They want to help, but they don't know how. Teach them how to stop bullying and be more than a bystander at stopbullying.gov. A message from the Ad Council.
I'm Nancy Solari, certified life and business coach. I want to invite you to the Personal Development Boot Camp. During the boot camp, we're going to be looking at taking those insecurities that you have and getting rid of them. We're also going to look at ways in which you can thrive and live a life full of purpose. Go to livingfullout.com/bootcamp, livingfullout.com/bootcamp to sign up. I believe in you, and here's to you living your life full out.
They'll challenge your authority. They'll try to break your will. They'll push you to the edge of your sanity. Because that's what kids do. But this car is your territory, not theirs. Defend it. Who makes the payments? Who cleans it? Who drives it? You do. That's who. And in here, your word is law. So when you say you won't move until everyone's buckled up, you won't budge an inch. Until you hear that click. Never give up until they buckle up. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council. For more information, visit safercar.gov/kidsbuckleup.
7 million children suffer from asthma, more than any other chronic disease. Most asthma attacks are caused by allergic reactions to allergens, including those left behind by cockroaches and mice. In fact, 82% of U.S. households contain mouse allergens, and cockroaches are found in up to 98% of urban homes. How can you protect your family? Find out at pestworld.org. A message from the National Pest Management Association and the American College of Allergy, Asthma, and Immunology.
Get it, slip it, cuff it, check it. Talk to doctor now and share it.
I get it, slip it, cuff it, check it twice a day.
I get it, slip it, cuff it, check it in the morning and before dinner.
I get it, slip it, cuff it, check it, and share it with my doctor. Nearly 1 in 2 U.S. adults have high blood pressure. That's why it's important to self-monitor your blood pressure in 4 easy-to-remember steps. It starts with a monitor.
Now that I know my blood pressure numbers, I talked with my doctor. We're getting those numbers down.
Get it, slip it, cuff it, check it. Talk to doctor now and share it.
Be next to talk to your doctor about your blood pressure numbers. Get down with your blood pressure. Self-monitoring is power. Learn more at manageyourbp.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council, the American Heart Association, and the American Medical Association. In partnership with the Office of Minority Health and Health Resources and Services Administration.
You're listening to Living Full Out with Nancy Solari. With Nancy's expertise, you'll learn how to embrace your potential and strive for success. If you have a question or need further support, send us an email at connect@livingfullout.com. Now, here's Nancy.
Thank you for joining us today. I'm Nancy Solari, and this is the Living Full Out Show. And today we are joined by our inspirational guest, Kim Curry. And Kim has been sharing with us all about his successful journey in radio and how he got there. And I'd like to take kind of a pivot here and bring Kim back into the show. Welcome.
Thank you for having me again today, Nancy. I appreciate that.
Absolutely. Now, you and I, although we come from 2 different walks of life with 2 different health conditions, I remember when I was told I had RP, which is retinitis pigmentosa, and I learned all about that. And at 49, you were diagnosed with MS, another great 2 letters there, which is multiple sclerosis. Now, for our audience who may not know what that is, and there's different types, can you share with them what it is and which type you have, just so we can kind of anchor that?
Multiple sclerosis has a variety of different things that happen. Mainly, it's the lesions that occur on your brain. You get lesions on your brain, and depending on where those lesions land is where you are going to be affected. I had lesions that were growing in my brain for quite some time, and they affect my lower legs from my mid-thigh down. It's funny. I had MS exacerbations my entire life. I just didn't know what they were. I was in 5th grade, and I was running in that presidential fitness test. And we're talking the 70s, so it was a long time ago. But everybody did that 600-yard presidential fitness test. And while I was running, I didn't feel like my feet were touching the ground, and I kept falling down. Later in life, I thought that I'd been bitten by fire ants because my right arm suddenly started to curl up, and I started losing vision in my right eye. Again, later, I thought I maybe been stung by killer bees because I was losing feeling in my right shoulder. I had all sorts of spots in front of my eyes. Well, when I turned 49, my wife and I and my kids were out here in Colorado visiting my mother. And through a series of circumstances, she kept looking at my wife and saying, there's something wrong with Kim's face. It doesn't look right. And I used to tell her that, Mom, I had the most stressful job in the world. I was running the biggest radio station in Miami, and we were experiencing, at that time, we were actually watching television and watching one of these tsunamis and how devastating the tsunami was. So I just told my Mom, this is just terrible. I'm really under stress because of what I'm seeing and how hard I work. But she got to my wife, and my wife insisted that I get to a doctor. And through a series of about 2 months of testing, they diagnosed me with multiple sclerosis right when I turned 50 years old. Mm-hmm. The other thing that happens with MS is the nerves that we have in our body are covered by a thing called myelin. And MS patients, for some reason, the myelin disappears in nerves. So in a variety of places in my legs, I can't feel anything. I can't stand. I can stand up, but I can't walk. I can't move my legs to take a step. So these things all manifested themselves when I turned 50 when I was diagnosed.
Well, and over time, you went from walking to it being harder to walk to, a cane, ultimately a wheelchair. And what is interesting is, again, you have a larger than life personality. You are Kid Curry. But around 50, you made an agreement with the station that you would focus on your health, that you would retire. And you had always been able to walk into a room and everybody kind of flocked to you. But when you now rolled into the room in your wheelchair, that was gone. Why was that?
It was the biggest mental problem I had in the beginning. Was not only was I diagnosed with a chronic disease that I had no clue was going to do to me, but I lost my personality. Because when you're Kid Curry, you're the guy running the biggest radio station in Miami, and you've been a very famous DJ in cities across America, people gravitated towards me my entire career. But then when I got MS and you start walking in crutches and then you roll in a wheelchair, nobody wants to be next to you. And it took me a long time to try to deal with that. But it was something my wife said one time. After I was about 8 or 9 years into my battle with multiple sclerosis, she said, you just got to stop being so mad about being in that wheelchair. And that really stuck to me for some reason. There was no reason for me to be mad because there was nothing anyone could do. So the same guy, I figured it out. The same guy who everybody used to gravitate to because I had the biggest radio station in Miami is the same guy who rolls in the wheelchair. I get everybody's attention when I roll into every room because I'm the guy in the wheelchair. So I now take control of my environment. I'm the first one to say hello. I smile at the kids. Little dogs love me because I'm at their height. So whenever I walk into a room, I now control the room. But I can guarantee you that it took 8, 9, maybe even 10 years to finally figure out that I was the same guy. I just needed to learn how to control the room the way that it was always controlled when I walked into a room. So it did help me. Thank you for my wife. She really fixed me on that one.
Oh, let's hear it for Elizabeth. Yay.
Yes, ma'am.
But one of the things I appreciate so much about your story is just like you just did, that honesty, that reflection. But I know that you and I experience both the same frustrations with our disabilities when you're within the four walls of your own home, right? I mean, you've really had to outfit your home to meet your needs so that you can be independent. And in what way have you had to do that?
Well, my wife she has insisted that I would have a normal life. At every step of this journey, she has insisted I had the best doctors, the best therapists, had the best equipment. She has made sure that I could drive around in my car. She buys me hand controls. I drive with my hands. She insists that I can get into any building. So I've got wheelchairs, one in my car, and I have 2 wheelchairs at home. I have a stair lift that gets me from all 3 levels of my home. In order to get out of the garage, I have a lift that gets me into the main level. And on the back side of the house, I have another lift that gets me from the main level to my backyard so I can enjoy life. But this is all my wife's doing. She is the one who decided that regardless of what it costs, we were going to make sure that I had the best life possible. Now, in my memoir, Come Get Me, Mother, I'm Through, I specifically discuss how it costs to be disabled in America. All these things that my wife does for me. We get no government support. I wouldn't be able to get up and down the stairs of my home if it wasn't for my stair lift. It's a $30,000 stair lift that my wife paid for. I have 2 $15,000 lifts that get me into my property. Again, no government assistance on that. And so I really rail against our health system here in America. And it's a shame that you and I, people like us, have to live like we're not normal just because of what happened to us. So my wife insists that I live a life as close to normal as possible. And I really appreciate that for her.
You know, it's interesting when, again, you were wildly successful, right, in radio and in entertainment overall. But then, you did get diagnosed with MS, and that brought, challenges into your life, which you and your wife together have conquered. But in what way do you feel like it has given you a sense of purpose that maybe radio did not give you?
Well, I can tell you that one thing that you and I have both had to learn is patience. I have to have patience. I lived in a business. I worked in a business where I had people working for me on my studio. I had people that would answer my telephones, people that helped me edit stuff. Things happen in my life immediately because live radio is such that it needs to be done now. Well, when you're in a wheelchair and you roll out of a room and you forgot something, you got to stop and roll all the way back, get in and grab what you need and come all the way back in. Sometimes I have to transfer from my wheelchair to get into my walking lift. And when that happens, I'll forget something, have to go all the way back to my wheelchair, go all the way back to my room. So I've learned patience, and something that was really important in my life was to learn that patience. But, I can tell you that one of the best things that happened to me, and I think we've discussed this, the best thing that ever happened to me was my diagnosis of multiple sclerosis. I really needed to change my life. I needed to slow down and learn how to smell the coffee. I needed to be able to connect with my wife more. My wife has had an amazing change. I was a pretty important radio guy for a long time, but when I got diagnosed, my wife had to take over. In the very beginning of the diagnosis, we took all our money and came out here to Colorado to do fix and flipping of houses. Well, she didn't like the way the real estate agents were treating her. And so she went out and got her own real estate license. And within a year, had started breaking per capita records in the state of Colorado on houses sold. And in 1 year, she sold 123 houses. So that got the attention of the corporate office. She was working for Keller Williams at the time. And they decided they were going to have her start to coach people on how to sell houses. So my wife has gone from being my date at the Grammys, went into becoming a real estate agent, became a consultant to teach people how to do real estate, and throughout all of that is now the CEO of a major real estate company that has offices now in 6 different states. So the best thing that happened to me was being diagnosed with MS, because I had to get my life together. My doctors have done the right thing by changing my medicine at the right time. After about 8 years, they changed my medicine, and my condition has not gotten any worse, and it's not gotten any better for the last 10 years. So things have gone pretty well for me, and my wife is now the superstar in my family. And I'm real proud of her.
You know what? You are not only just a good man overall, but, really a good husband to intuitively kind of pass that torch to her, because it's allowing both of you to have that winning moments in life, in your careers. And so, I want to thank you so much, Kim, for sharing your story today. And I could just keep talking to you, but we are running out of time. And thank you for being a good voice for those who have MS as well. And we're going to, keep our eye on you and cheer you on. Thank you so much.
Nancy, thank you for your time today. I've always enjoyed speaking with you. Let's do it again.
Love it. All right. And for everybody, when we come back, we're going to continue talking about how to harness patience so that you can truly get out there and live your life full out. We'll be right back after this break.
To some people, the sound of a baby babbling doesn't mean much. But that's not necessarily true. By 6 months, they're combining vowels and consonants. By 9 months, they're trying out different kinds of sounds. And by 12 months, their babbling is beginning to take on some meaning. Especially if there's no babbling at all. Little to no babbling by 12 months or later is just one of the possible signs of autism in children. Early screening and intervention can make a lifetime of difference and unlock a world of possibilities. Take the first step at autismspeaks.org. A public service announcement brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
Most of us like to be out in the sun. That's why sunscreen and other safety measures are key to protecting your skin from aging and cancer. The FDA recommends using a sunscreen with a sun protection factor, or SPF, of 15 or higher. Also, look for broad spectrum on the label. That means both harmful ultraviolet A and B rays are blocked. UVA rays age the skin, UVB rays burn, and both cause cancer. But the perfect sunscreen doesn't count if you use it wrong. Don't need sunscreen on a cloudy day? Wrong. 80% of UV rays still get through the haze. Only use sunscreen at the beach? Nope. Anytime you're outside, UV rays attack the skin, so you need protection. And you have to reapply sunscreen every 2 hours. Remember, SPF plus broad spectrum equal healthy fun in the sun. Visit www.fda.gov/sunscreen for more information. A message from the U.S. Food and Drug Administration.
Right now, our country feels divided, but there's a place where people are coming together.
I gotta tell you, I was nervous to talk to someone so different than me.
Me too, but I'm glad we are.
Love Has No Labels and One Small Step are helping people with different political views, beliefs, and life experiences come together through conversation, and it feels good.
Wow, your story is so...
Interesting?
Yeah.
When people actually sit down, talk, and listen to one another, they can break down boundaries and connect as human beings. At lovehasnolabels.com/onesmallstep, you can listen to amazing, life-changing conversations and find simple tools to start a conversation of your own.
I know one thing. This conversation gives me hope.
It gives me a lot of hope, too.
Take a step toward bringing our country and your community together by having the courage to start a conversation at lovehasnolabels.com/onesmallstep. A message from StoryCorps, Love Has No Labels, and the Ad Council.
All right, crew, let's get her dug.
Honey, want to give me a hand? I'm planting that tree, remember?
No matter how large or small your digging project may be, no matter how urban or rural, you must always call 811 before any digging project. 811 is our national one-call number, alerting your local utility companies to come out and mark any lines they have near your dig site. You must call 811 at least 2 to 3 business days before any digging project, so you can avoid hitting our essential buried utilities. This includes natural gas and petroleum pipelines, electric, communication cables, and water and sewer lines. So before you do this or this, make sure you do this. For digging projects big or small, make the call to 811. Brought to you by Common Ground Alliance.
When it comes to harnessing patience, it's okay to slow down. Sometimes you just have to sit with yourself. You have to calm your mind, calm your body, allow yourself the time to assess, to reflect. So when you do take those next steps, you're doing them with confidence. I think when we get all rattled and concerned and stressed out, it's hard to know what are the right moves to make. And when you live full out, it is about taking those steps with confidence.
You're listening to Living Full Out with Nancy Solari. As a professional motivational speaker, Nancy can assist you to blow through your setbacks and start living full out. If you have an inspirational story you want to share, email us at connect@livingfullout.com. Once again, here's Nancy.
It has been so great to be with you today. I'm Nancy Solari. This is the Living Full Out Show, and we've been talking about harnessing patience. And I hope throughout today's show, listening to our callers, to our guests, that you've been able to find aspects of your own life, or maybe you know that you need to have more patience and maybe make some changes. And sometimes that comes with being honest. I know for myself, one of the things that comes with being visually impaired is a lot of times you have to rely on consistency. Like for me, it's much better if the remote control is on the same table when people are done with it. That way I'm not hunting for it all over on couches and other tables. But with that comes people bending and being like, okay, well, I'll put the remote here because I know it's easier for Nancy. And sometimes, when I'm in a new area and although I have my guide dog, I don't want to fall. I'm uncertain of my surroundings. I might ask a friend, can I grab your arm? And although that seems like a natural yes answer, sometimes it's a yes and sometimes it's a, hold my shirt behind my back or follow my voice, just because sometimes there's tight quarters. Sometimes I have a single friend of mine who would prefer that we're not locking arms, arm to arm, because she, wants to, be single and be herself. And I respect that too. So sometimes when you have a disability, although things may be easier if they're done a certain way, what I've learned is I actually have to have a lot of patience, because it can't always be Nancy's way. It can't always be that the remote is on the same table all the time, because sometimes people just do what they do. And sometimes it is tight quarters, or somebody may want to not walk arm in arm, and you have to respect that too. And so for everybody, it's going to be different. What I've learned in time is to always be humble enough and bold enough to ask. And when you're willing to ask, whether you're at the office and you're up against a deadline and you need just some support, ask. Now that person has the right to say no. They have the right to say, gosh, I've got somewhere I've got to go. I wish I could. And you can't be angry for them for that. It's if they can help you, they will. If they can't, they can't. And if there's, people in your life that, have their own dilemmas that they're dealing with. It's interesting in life. This is what patience has also taught me. It would be so easy if we were all mind readers, right? It'd be easy if we knew what was happening in everybody's world. It would be easier if we all lived in glass houses and we just, had the instant sense of what everybody was managing in terms of responsibilities and challenges. But we don't. So sometimes, again, the patience has to be about being understanding. And, you hear it all the time, trying on somebody else's shoe. It truly is that. So even though I may look at myself as, hey, I'm the one with the disability, sometimes, believe it or not, I've learned over time, is my visual impairment, although it is a disability, sometimes a broken heart is worse. Sometimes somebody who is dealing with a lack of purpose, a lack of focus, that is actually worse, to wander the planet not knowing what am I supposed to do? Where am I supposed to go? Will anybody love me? That is stressful. So what I want you to do is come away from today's show just number one, always doing your best. That's all you can do, right? But number two, when it comes to patience, it's patience with yourself. Granted, things happen. Try again, right? Fail, pick yourself up. All the things we've been taught, they are true. They're not just, words of wisdom that go flat. They are real. And then also when it comes to patience, it is about having that awareness, being willing to step out of our own stuff, our own challenges. I oftentimes talk about in my writing, sometimes in life we're in the spotlight. That's when we're having successes. That's when, something catastrophic is happening and we're in the spotlight. It's intense. It's epic. It's in the moment. And then sometimes you want to go into the shadows and you want to give other people the spotlight of success. Our guest today, Kim Curry, spoke beautifully about that. He put his wife in the spotlight and he stepped into the shadows. Sometimes going into the shadows means that, you allow other people to ask for help, other people to speak and vent, and you be the sounding board for them rather than always absorbing all the air. That is a lot of where patience comes in. But most of all, whether you are 5 years old listening to our show, which makes you a really smart child, or you're 99, right, and you've been hopefully a loyal listener, if you can embrace patience, you will be the big winner. It is absolutely a secret to the success of living full out. The entire family here listening and the entire radio team, we appreciate you listening. We want you to go out there, just have a really great day, smile big, laugh loud, and most of all, make sure to harness having patience. When you do that, you're able to live full out. See you soon.
Thank you for listening to the Living Full Out Show with Nancy Solari. To learn more about this program, visit livingfullout.com for the latest episodes. Connect with the Living Full Out community by following us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and subscribing to our YouTube channel. Here's to you, living full out.